Welcome to another terrifying tale from the depths of the wilderness. Today I'm bringing you one of the most disturbing camping stories I've ever come across. If you're fascinated by true crime, survival horror, and the dark side of outdoor adventures, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Make sure to like this video too if you want more disturbing real-life stories delivered straight to your feed. Now let's dive into this nightmare that unfolded in the remote woods of northern Montana. In the summer of 2018, four friends, Mark, Jason, Ellie, and Tara, decided to embark on a week-long backcountry camping trip in Glacier National Park. All four were experienced hikers in their late 20s who had been friends since college. They'd done similar trips before, but nothing quite as remote as where they were heading this time. They planned to hike deep into the park's wilderness area, well away from the usual tourist spots and established campgrounds. The group had meticulously planned every detail of their trip. They had topographic maps, enough supplies to last 10 days, though they only planned to be out for 7, emergency satellite phones, and all the necessary gear. Mark, who had organized the trip, had even contacted park rangers beforehand to check trail conditions and obtain the necessary permits. Everything seemed perfectly in order. On July 15th, they set off from the trailhead after leaving Mark's car in the designated parking area. According to the trail register they signed, they planned to hike approximately 12 miles on their first day to reach a pristine alpine lake where they would set up their first camp. The weather was perfect, sunny with temperatures in the mid-70s, and the forecast showed similar conditions for the week ahead. The first 2 days of their trip went exactly as planned. The group hiked through stunning landscapes, took plenty of photos, and even spotted some wildlife from a safe distance. On the evening of the second day, they made camp near a small stream approximately 20 miles from their starting point, and now officially in the backcountry wilderness area where they would be unlikely to encounter other hikers. What happened next has been pieced together from various sources: the survivors' testimonies, search and rescue reports, forensic evidence, and the disturbing video footage later recovered from Jason's camera. The trouble began on the third night. According to Ellie, who later provided a detailed account to investigators, they had just finished dinner and were sitting around the campfire when they heard an unusual sound coming from the dense forest that surrounded their camp. It wasn't the typical sounds of wildlife they were accustomed to hearing. This was different. Ellie described it as a strange, rhythmic tapping, almost like someone was deliberately striking wood against wood. Initially, they dismissed it as perhaps a woodpecker or some other natural phenomenon. Mark suggested it might be another group of campers setting up nearby, though they hadn't seen anyone else on the trail for the past 2 days. As darkness fell completely, the sound stopped and they thought nothing more of it. Around 2 a.m., Tara woke everyone up in a panic. She claimed she had seen a flashlight beam sweeping through the trees at the edge of their camp. Jason, who had taken on the role of the group's protector, grabbed his hunting knife and walked the perimeter of the camp, but found nothing unusual. Mark suggested it might have been the reflection of the moonlight on the stream water, and everyone eventually went back to sleep, though Tara remained uneasy. The next morning, they made a disturbing discovery. Someone or something had been through their camp while they slept. Their food bag, which they had properly hung from a tree branch to keep away from bears, had been cut down. Oddly, nothing was taken, but the bag had been methodically opened, and the contents had been arranged in a strange, almost ritualistic pattern on the ground. Additionally, small stacks of rocks had been placed around their tents in what appeared to be some kind of circle. This development deeply unsettled the group. They discussed turning back, but they were already 3 days in, and Mark argued that heading forward to their next planned site would actually be quicker than returning to the trailhead. They decided to continue but agreed to take extra precautions. Jason began recording more footage on his camera, documenting the strange rock formations and the disturbed food supplies, just in case they needed evidence later. As they hiked that day, all four friends reported an overwhelming sense of being watched. Ellie later told investigators that she repeatedly saw movement in her peripheral vision, but whenever she turned to look directly, there was nothing there. The forest seemed unusually quiet, no bird calls, no rustling of small animals in the underbrush. Just an eerie silence that pressed in on them from all sides. They reached their next planned campsite around 4 p.m., a small clearing near a cliff edge that offered a stunning view of the valley below. As they began setting up camp, Jason's camera captured something that none of them noticed at the time: a brief glimpse of what appeared to be a human figure watching them from behind a distant tree. The figure was mostly obscured, but what was visible seemed oddly proportioned and unnaturally still. That night, things escalated dramatically. Around midnight, they were awakened by the sound of someone or something circling their tents. Heavy footsteps moved slowly around the perimeter of their camp, occasionally stopping as if to listen. Mark and Jason exited their tent with flashlights and a bear spray, calling out to whoever might be there. The footsteps immediately retreated into the woods. Unable to sleep after this incident, the group decided to maintain a watch system, with one person staying awake at all times while the others tried to rest. During Ellie's watch between 3 and 4 a.m., she heard what she described as whispering voices coming from just beyond the tree line. She woke the others, but by then the voices had stopped. At dawn, they made another chilling discovery. Their backpacks had been moved from where they'd left them. Nothing was missing, but each pack had been carefully placed in a straight line pointing toward the forest. More disturbing were the footprints they found, barefoot human prints that approached their tents from the forest, circled each tent, and then led back into the trees. At this point, the group unanimously decided to abandon their trip and return to civilization as quickly as possible. They hastily packed up their gear and began hiking back toward the trailhead. According to their original plan, it would take them at least 3 days to return, but they hoped to cover more ground by hiking longer hours each day. The strangest part of this story, and what makes it truly disturbing, is what happened next. Jason's recovered camera footage shows the group hiking at a brisk pace through dense forest. They appear tense but determined. About 4 hours into their return journey, the camera suddenly jerks as Jason apparently turns quickly to look behind him. For a split second, the footage captures what looks like a pale, emaciated human figure ducking behind a tree. The camera then swings wildly as Jason seems to run forward to catch up with the others. The next segment of footage shows the group huddled together, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. They had clearly all seen something that frightened them enough to abandon the trail completely. Mark can be heard saying they should take a shortcut down a steep ravine that would lead them more directly toward the main park road, where they might encounter other hikers or park rangers. This decision would prove fatal for one of them. The descent down the ravine was treacherous. Loose rocks and steep terrain made for dangerous hiking conditions, especially with their heavy packs. About halfway down, Tara lost her footing and slid several feet before managing to grab onto a small tree to stop her fall. The group decided to rope themselves together for the remainder of the descent. The camera footage becomes increasingly erratic at this point, with Jason frequently turning to look behind them. During one of these moments, the camera captures something truly chilling, what appears to be multiple pale figures moving through the trees above them on the ridge they had just descended from. The figures move in an unnatural, almost jerky manner, staying just at the edge of visibility. As night began to fall, the group realized they wouldn't reach the main road before dark. They found a small clearing and quickly set up a makeshift camp, foregoing tents and opting instead to sleep close together around a large fire. The mood was one of palpable fear. The camera footage shows all four sitting rigidly, staring out into the darkness beyond their fire's light. Around 1 a.m., according to the camera's timestamp, the whispering voices returned, louder this time and seemingly coming from all directions. The footage shows the four friends standing back to back, flashlights pointed outward. When Mark suddenly points and shouts there, "What is that?" the camera swings wildly in the direction he's pointing, and for a brief moment illuminates what appears to be a human-like figure standing just at the edge of the firelight. The figure is tall and unnaturally thin, with pale, almost translucent skin. Its limbs seem too long for its body, and its face, what can be seen of it, appears distorted. What happens next is chaotic. The footage shows flashes of the friends running, the sounds of their panicked breathing and frantic footsteps filling the audio.